पानी भी पियो, चाय भी पियो. Yeah. Hi, good morning, gentlemen. I welcome you to the first session, day 2 of the 19th Indo-US Economic Summit. And as you all know, this, according to me, is one of the most important sessions because we deal on infrastructure, which is the main focus area by the government of India today. I am Ashish Wig. I'm the chairman of Infrastructure Committee, Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, NIC. In short, we'll say IACC as I go on. I would like to introduce briefly our, uh, our guest of honor, Mr. Philip Cummings. He's the Deputy Minister Counselor for Economic, Environment, Science and Technology Affairs, US Embassy. Most welcome, Philip. And as I see, you have had a very great experience, vast experience working in different countries from the US side on different topics. And we will look forward to your inputs on the subject of Indo-US Partnership Vision 2050, a new era of relationship in infrastructure sector. Friends, then we have Pratap Padore. He is the founder and managing director, Smart Cities Council of India. Again, very hot topic in India today. A lot of great work is happening, and we would like Pratap to share his views. It's a very important segment of the infrastructure sector. We have Sista Prasad. Sista and I go back years, and he has a tremendous experience again in infrastructure development. He has been working with very big corporates, and presently he is Vice President APCO, and successfully executing works of tunneling, roads. Earlier he has done ports, dams, roads. Sister, most welcome to you. And your inputs, I remember the last time we were together on the dais in PhD, your inputs were very positively taken by the Minister, General V.K. Singh, retired. I welcome Mr. S.K. Chaudhary. He's a former chairman and managing director, IRCON International. IRCON, as you all know, is a part of the Indian Railways and one of the very big companies in India. Mr. Prakash Gaur, he's CEO, National Highways Logistics Management Limited. It's 100% owned and SPV of NHAI. NHAI, as you know, is National Highways Authority of India. So again, the road sector is very important and probably the fastest growing segment in India today. We have Mr. Pradeep Ratnam. He's the senior partner, infrastructure practice, Kocher and Company. Kocher and Company has been our partners in several summits, and we have always had the privilege of them being a knowledge partner. They have been giving us very valid inputs in our presentation to the ministries. I would like to also mention that Mr. Amrit Lal Meena, IAS, Special Secretary Logistics, Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, Government of India, was scheduled to be with us. He had promised, he committed, but he had to urgently rush for an important meeting in the ministry, so he will not be joining us. However, we will be appraising him of the developments of our deliberations today. Friends, my task is to start the session. The Secretariat has given me the responsibility of welcoming you all to this session, and I'll give a very brief outlook of what we are talking about. As India celebrates the 75th year of independence, setting the tone of Atmanirbhar Bharat, we also are witness to approximately 70 years of Indo-US ties. So it's a remarkable feature which we have experienced very positively Both the democracies have been working together for the development of the region. And as we look ahead to 2050, I'm sure this will get stronger and stronger. I remember reading one of the speeches of one of the former US Secretary of State. He said, and I quote, Indians and Americans don't just share an affinity for democracy, they share a vision for the future. And this is very apt as we move on today, that we are talking about approximately 30 years ahead. And we both look forward to a fruitful future. The prospect of India's economy possibly becoming the second largest by 2050 will drive its ties with the US further. As India shall become a huge market with talented human capital with democratic advantage. The average age of India would be around 25 years. And that would be a very big advantage for US. With India's youth, the powerful democratic example and increasing stature in the world, it makes perfect sense for both countries to build a strong foundation of the years of cooperation. India is recognized major defense partner of the US. We all know that, and we are witness to that. We have a big support from US in the defense sector. It can also become a big market for US companies in other infrastructure sectors as well. Friends, as you all know, since you are in infrastructure or related to infrastructure, the government of India has three major focus areas. One, Bharatmala, that takes care of the roads and tunneling where Sista is. Second is Sagarmala, which looks into inland waterways and the port development. Inland waterways, the government has identified more than 100 rivers where they are planning the movement of goods through barges and also the traffic going from rail onto the barges. There is a huge opportunity for American companies in dredging, in setting up the ports along the rivers, because it's a very new and in an infant stage. The industry offers great potential for US and India to work in this field. Then, of course, we have Parvatmala, which was announced by the finance minister in this budget. Parvatmala is something new that India is going to witness. This is ropeways in the hilly region. We have had very few so far, but now the government is planning to go in a very aggressive manner. India does not have the technology as of now as required. America has that. That can again be a very fruitful cooperation. Then, of course, we have the renewable energy. Education. Education, as you know, a lot of Indian students are going to America, but then American universities have a great potential of tying up with Indian universities in India. Smart cities. We have Pratap here. I just mentioned he is involved in smart cities. And smart cities is where we can see American cooperation in IT, especially. Rail and metro. We will hear during the course of this session about the possibilities of US partnership in rail and metro. Aviation. Aviation is again very big industry in India, which will see a boom because India will be making the repair maintenance hubs for the other countries. Agriculture, warehousing, new technologies is one more very important vertical because India has the largest population in agriculture, uh, which is deployed in the rural areas, but we need a lot of food processing units, a lot of high-tech warehousing, movement of cold chain. So these are some basic industry industry views, I would say, which US companies can look at. Now, as per my information, US has huge investment surpluses which can be used in India for promoting infrastructure investment. That is what we are talking about, the pension funds. Also to make India a manufacturing base, to help US grow their economy, to provide goods and services at affordable and competitive prices. One example which comes to my mind is providing healthcare at a reasonable cost in America by significantly supplying pharma products, trained paramedical staff. That is again going to be a win-win for both the countries. As you might be knowing, Government of India has provided an enabling environment of late for giving huge opportunities of over USD 1.4 trillion to boost investments in infrastructure sector. Friends, this is just a brief, an outline of what I feel about the prospects of Indo-US ties in infrastructure. And before I invite the other speakers, I will end my address by mentioning a quote by late President John F. Kennedy, which shows his vision towards the importance of infrastructure development. I quote, America is rich not because it has good roads, but because it has good roads is America rich. So at that time, that was importance to infrastructure development, and that is what we talk about in India today. Friends, having concluded my welcoming remarks, may I request our guest of honor, Mr. Philip Cummings, Deputy Minister Counselor for Economic, Environment, Science and Technology Affairs, U.S. Embassy, to please give his address. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wig. I appreciate that very kind introduction and your welcoming remarks. It is a great honor to be invited here to address you today and speak with you. So, ladies and gentlemen and colleagues, also, of course, good morning to you. This is very exciting to be here for to speak at the infrastructure session of the 19th Indo-US Economic Summit. The IACC has been instrumental in providing a forum for industry-government interactions that has informed collaboration on policy and strategy between our two countries, promoting trade and improving the business climate. Thank you all for all that you have done to drive our shared economic growth. This year, the United States and India celebrate 75 years of diplomatic relations. We've accomplished many great things over the years in both of our countries, and we are poised to achieve even more over the next 75 years. When President Biden met with Prime Minister Modi in April, he said that the US-India relationship is essential to delivering tangible benefits to people in both our nations and around the world. As a fellow Indo-Pacific nation, the United States is deeply aware of the importance of the region and our engagement here. Front and center is our Indo-Pacific strategy, which is supporting India's role as a regional leader. Our economic, security, and democratic interests closely complement each other. Today, our shared goal to create broad-based, inclusive prosperity for the region brings the United States and India ever closer together. For the United States, this means increasing investment both at home and abroad, unlocking the potential of the private sector, and helping to deliver high-quality infrastructure. As you've heard, infrastructure is the major focus of governments, private sector, and civil society all around the world, and for very good reason. It's critical for economic growth, especially as we recover from the economic crisis caused by the COVID-19 pandemic and subsequent supply chain disruptions. Ports, airports, roads, trains, power grids, access to the internet, Each of these and more are building blocks for global trade, commerce, connectivity, and of course, opportunity. It's directly connected to the climate crisis. Infrastructure that's designed and built sustainably can reduce global carbon emissions significantly. And infrastructure designed to be resilient can better endure the flooding, fires, the record-breaking temperatures, and larger, more frequent storms caused by the climate crisis that virtually every country around the world has experienced, obviously including the United States even at this moment, and India. At this moment, when so many wealthy economies are due to replace or rebuild crumbling infrastructure constructed decades ago, and when so many developing countries are looking for partners to help them close the infrastructure gap, we have to do more to make sure that infrastructure is done right. Too often, infrastructure is not built with sustainability, resilience, or climate impact in mind. It's not held to the highest standards, so it's less safe and durable and less durable. It is not done in partnership with local communities, so its social impact is mixed at best. At a time when others are driving an approach to infrastructure projects in which overseas companies import their own labor, extract resources, fail to consult with communities, and end up driving countries into debt, we are here today because we are championing a different approach. Rather than a race to the bottom, we together with like-minded governments such as India and the private sector and civil society partners, we want to spark a race to the top for quality, sustainable infrastructure around the world. Through initiatives like the Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment that President Biden launched at the G7 summit in June, we invite all to join in this effort. Through that partnership, the United States government and its partners will mobilize $600 billion by 2027 to deliver quality, sustainable infrastructure that makes a difference in people's lives around the world, strengthens and diversifies our supply chains, creates new opportunities for American workers and businesses, and advances our own national security. Through infrastructure investment, we will tackle the climate crisis and bolster global energy security. We will develop, expand, and deploy secure information and communications technology to facilitate open digital societies. We will advance gender equality and equity to ensure that half the population participates in sustaining our economic recovery. And we will upgrade the infrastructure of health systems and global health security. Infrastructure is critical for people's well-being, and only with the right infrastructure can India's economy reach the level of growth it has the potential to reach. As we look back at our 75-year relationship, the simple fact is that our countries are closer now than at any previous point in history. The United States and India share a common vision for the region, one that is free, open, secure, and prosperous. Our futures are inexorably linked, and together, we will advance prosperity, promote our shared democratic values, and bring the creativity and brilliance of our people to reach even greater heights over the next 25 years. I thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Philip, thank you so much. Your address has been so encouraging, especially I would say when you mentioned that the US and India share a free, open, secure, prosperous ideology. which is so true and so apt, so correct as we move on. And you also mentioned that the right infrastructure can make India reach its economic goal. That is exactly what we are trying to say. We are trying to mention in through this session that infrastructure is most important to reach the economic goals of a country. You also highlighted the importance of infrastructure worldwide, globally, in different facets, whether it is the climate crisis, whether it is reducing of carbon emissions. uh, Absolutely correct. And you started off by the April meeting of Mr. Modi with Mr. Biden, which is towards this direction, which brings both the countries in the same thought process. You touched upon the COVID pandemic, which has disrupted the economies of the different countries in the world, disrupted also the supply chains. Uh, I thank you so much. Your views have been very important for us as a chamber, and we would love to take it forward from there. Thank you once again. Friends, may I now invite Mr. Prakash Gaur. He's CEO, National Highways Logistics Management Limited. Prakash ji.
Good morning to all. Good morning, Honorable Minister. Good morning, Ashish ji and my panelists. First of all, thank you very much to Indo-US Chamber of Commerce to give us this opportunity to talk about the India infrastructure program and the investment opportunities what are upcoming. I'm really thankful to Honorable Ministers who talked about the common vision what India and US shares, not only in overall economic vision, but more especially resilient infrastructure development. And that exactly what Mr. Ashish ji said, we are also working in the same direction. Not taking much time, I directly come to the point. The two program was mentioned by Ashish ji in the beginning in his opening remarks. One program he mentioned about Bharatmala, and second program he mentioned about the Parvatmala. I am happy and fortunate enough to involve in both the programs in this fully or partly, which I'll touch upon that what are the opportunities available. Bharatmala, as many of you may be aware, that's a program of highway development in India, where the new greenfield expressways and highways are being developed. Is in phase one itself, around 10,000 kilometers are being taken up. And one of the unique example of this, what we all see on ground, Delhi-Mumbai Expressway, which is 1,300 kilometers, it started in 2 years before on ground, and now we see that is happening. The next month, we are going to open a partly section of Delhi-Mumbai Expressways, especially Delhi to Dausa section. So that's the fastest delivery what India is able to show in terms of infrastructure development, along with the quality and sustainabilities. There are a lot of unique examples in these highways when it passes through in Rajasthan area, especially in wildlife areas and other, that how sensitively we have designed those infrastructures, taking care not only over environment, but flora and fauna both. Coming back to the main subject, which I want to touch upon is under the Bharatmala program, when we initiated, we also took up under Bharatmala the logistics development, logistics infrastructure development in the country. And when we say logistics infrastructure development in the country in Bharatmala program, 35 multimodal logistics parks were taken. And why they were taken up, I'd like to just go back to the history of industrialization a minute before. Till now, developed world at CS, US has seen, Europe has seen, now we are also experiencing that to attract the industries and to do industrialization till now, the emphasis was give a good quality of infrastructure, give a good quality developed plots, give a water, power, electricity, ICT, and so on and so forth. Is with good industrial policy were good enough to attract large industries. But now when you go to the industries, the basic demand comes at how the logistics infrastructure will happen is how my backward and forward supply chain will move in the, and why this happiness? Because industry has to become competitive. And as we all know, that the logistics cost in India is around 14 to 15% of the GDP, as compared to developed world, which is 8 to 10%. So almost our logistics cost is much higher than the other component, other parts of the world. So government of India set the target to reduce its logistics cost or make the Indian product attractive. That is why I go back to the Bharatmala program, where 35 multimodal logistics by strategic location has been taken up in this, and this special purpose vehicle is being set up by the ministry with a focused approach in delivering this infrastructure. So what we are doing is, in this development, we are following a public-private partnership model. This 35 MMLPs will give an opportunities with almost $7 billion investments. Out of this, $3.5 billion investment will come from the government side, and $3.5 billion we see from the market side, all put together. So, and the model what we are following in this multimodal logistics parks, when I say public-private partnership, government is playing a key role, which is very important for the investing communities to know that how investor-friendly this entire program is. So, as a government, we are forming a special purpose vehicle as an authority, which will provide the developed land, which will provide the external connectivities in form of rail connectivities, in terms of very seamless highway connectivities, water, power, ICT, and other infrastructure up to the doorstep in this. And within the park, the entire development will be taken care by the private developers. And these concessions are being given on a 45-year long-term basis. So it's a very long-term planning. What we are doing, almost half a century planning is being done for this development. And where the private sector comes, develop it in a phases. So private sector can develop in 3 phases over a period of 15 years. What we are expecting from private sector is the first phase has to be operationalized within the period of 2 years, 24 months from the appointed date, what we call it. So what is important for the private sector is to ensure that the investment goes in the right directions. So we are giving a master plan, we are giving a basic master plan, basic component, defining the multimodal logistics, what we really needed, but what we expect from the private sector to come and bring the value engineering, improvise on this plan, but make a commitment that within minimum 30% of the investments out of total investment is to be made in the first 2 years. So the park is operationalized and our objectives are being achieved to develop this and to achieve the reduced cost. In terms of progress, I'm happy to share with you that out of 35, 3 projects has already been tendered, which is Chennai, Bangalore, and Nagpur. 4th one, as announced by Honorable Finance Minister in his speech, the 4 will be awarded this year. The 4th one is Indore, will be tendered in this month. Out of 4, we have already received the bids for the Chennai. They will be shortly awarding the project. The first MMLP will be awarded, and then rest will follow. We are targeting to look for a minimum 15 MMLPs in next 3 years' times to ensure that the system is being rolled out. There we look for an investment opportunities, investment from the US-based companies and the funds. There are other more flexibilities are being given, like a lock-in period, exit, and other things, which may really be helpful for the investors to know that, yes, this will really take them a long way. Coming to my second point, what the program Mr. Ashish mentioned about the Parvatmala. Parvatmala is a new program which also was announced in this budget by Honorable Finance Minister to develop the roadway system. And let me just brief you, it is not just about the hilly area only, though its name goes by Parvat, meaning mountainous, but we are looking the Parvatmala program across country. So, and we are looking under 4 connectivity programs: urban congestion, hilly area, inaccessible area, and areas of tourist and religious importance. So which out of these 4 categories, wherever we feel that the required accessibility is to be provided in a sustainable manner, what the Honorable Minister said, to take up. So this project will also be being developed on a public-private partnership basis. So where we are looking all three modes of implementation depending on the feasibilities of this project, starting with design, build, finance, operate, transfer, where the investor may come and develop and distinguish. There we are looking at technology partnership with the international companies from the US. They may come and implement this project. We are also looking at another model, what is championed already by NHAI, National Highway Authority of India, model called hybrid annuity model, HAM, where up to 60% of the investment will be made by the government, and remaining 40% is to be made by the private developer, whosoever comes on board. And he will be made the payment over a period of 15 years, including operation maintenance. So one is not taking a revenue risk, but taking a financing and technical risk and delivering the projects. And what the government gets is very good quality of infrastructure with operation and maintenance. So life cycle costs targets are being achieved. We are already working with the states, this being a state subject. We are working with all the states to deliver. We have already received around 250 proposals of around 1,000 kilometers from various states. We are currently doing the pre-feasibility study for that. What approach we will be following is we first do the pre-feasibility. Based on the pre-feasibility, we define what is the level of implementation, the model implementation, sizing and scale will come. Then we do a DPR or detailed feasibility as the case may be and go for it. The three marquee project which has already been taken up by the government and rolled out. One project is which will really transform the urban transportation of India, called roadway system in Varanasi. As we all know, Varanasi is a holy city and one of the first city of the world, what we call it. There, after opening of the temple, the new avatar of temple, the demand has, the pilgrims demand has increased. Almost more than 100,000 people per day visiting the temple. So there is an urgent need to provide a very good transportation system. And we have very narrow streets in that area, people who are familiar with the city. So we are providing 4 kilometers of section from the railway station to near to the temple, which will give us seamless connectivities for the pilgrims to visit that and finish. Later on, we may do a complete network in the cities upon the success of this pilot. Similarly, we are doing one project in the hilly region, another shrine, what we call is Kedarnath Shiva temple. There are almost 13 kilometer trekking is there, which is to be done by either by pony or by track. There we are providing a system of 13 kilometer 3S system that is also being tendered now. Another project what we have taken up is also of religious importance for Sikh communities called Hemkund Sahib. This also falls under the state of Uttarakhand. That project is also being tendered now. So along with this, we are also coming up with 4th project in state of Madhya Pradesh, city of Ujjain, where also as place of religious importance, we have a temple called Mahakal of Shiva. There around 2 kilometers of section has been taken similar to the Varanasi approach, where from the railway station to this will be provided. Like this, we are coming up many more projects. 17 feasibilities are being done. So I'll not take much time on this. So I would request the investment communities of US side that please look forward openly of this project. It's a very good investment opportunities. Very well built contract documents are available. These projects are all available on the websites of NHAI and NHLM. We will be really happy to interact and partners with our US friends to develop such a high sustainable quality of infrastructure. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ashish.
Thank you, Prakash ji. It has been very enlightening. I can say that you have shown a new direction by Parvatmala to what the country is considering a new segment in infrastructure development. And I would say this could become one of the most important segments under the Prime Minister's leadership. You mentioned about the huge potential that we can look at between the ties of India and America. America has a great expertise in this. There are many ropeways there, and apart from the finance part, which of course is going to be very lucrative. I just wanted to ask you, but before asking, I must also mention about the 35 multimodal paths that you said, and the work on which is already on, and yet again a huge potential by the government. But I wanted to ask you, since Phil is there with us, that in case the foreign companies, the American companies, want to know more about these projects, who do they write to? Where do they go?
As an institution, they can come to us, National Highway Logistics Management Limited, which, as you mentioned, 100% own SPV of NHAI or the NHAI. And if it's on a specifically you want to know, Prakash Gaur is always available as a CEO of the company to interact with the investors, because I see both on the logistics infrastructure side and on the financing side. So many funds are available, and I know many of the funds are maybe interested in investing in the logistics infrastructure. There also a very good opportunity available, because the way the entire concession agreement has been prepared and drafted is keeping in mind that a lot of investors may also come. In fact, not only the concession agreement, even in the RFP document, which defines the qualification of that thing, is we have mentioned that if somebody has a financial net worth of this, he can bring the technical credentials within and can be bid on, come be partner for this project with us. So, and my details are available with the Indo-US. So my emails and numbers are available, always open, anytime. People may call me and write me. I'll be happy to answer that.
Thank you. That'll be very nice. In fact, we as a chamber, this is our main sole purpose of connecting the industry with the department, and we would take time from you. We would come ourselves, take the details, and then forward it to the ministry. Philip, I just wanted to ask you before I go on to the next speaker, that we are having these mega projects in India, which are coming up probably in a very big way, and which were not experienced earlier in this manner. If I remember correctly, we had this project called the Terminal 3 in Delhi Airport, which was a fast track project, a very big project, where we had Bechtel coming in. And Bechtel was a consultant for the project. Would you be looking at such companies coming in as a consultant for the big projects that we are hearing?
Yes, thank you. Bechtel is a tremendous provider of engineering services, as we all know, and we've partnered with them in abroad in many markets. So while I've not met the Bechtel people here or heard of their interest in India yet, I know that we are very eager to make sure that all of the business organizations in India here get the good word out to the United States, and that as I mentioned, as we are recovering from the global pandemic, that our companies are getting out, finding new opportunities for investment, and showing up for exactly these kind of opportunities, as you've mentioned here, and as our previous speaker, Mr. Gore, as well as mentioned. So we don't speak for the private companies, they do their assessments, but we are very happy in the embassy, and we're very eager through my section, as well as the section of our Foreign Commercial Service from the Department of Commerce, to make those partnerships happen, expose more investors to these opportunities, and get them over here to see them themselves and have those relationships really grow. So yeah, so we're looking forward to ways to make that happen. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. That's very positive from your side and very encouraging for the Indian industry. In fact, like I just mentioned, the chamber is absolutely dedicated to work with you for the industry, bring both together, and we would love to seek some time with you also, come across and see where we can, take it forward. Because yes, technology is very important for India. It's very important because these projects are so big. You've just been hearing. Friends, may I now request Mr. Sista Prasad, Executive Vice President, APCO Infratech. Like I mentioned, Sista has been involved and is currently executing tunneling projects and road projects. And tunneling is very crucial and very, I mean, you have to be an expert to really go into tunneling. Sister, can you please give your views?
Yeah, good morning to all the speakers. In fact, it's a very great opportunity for me to participate and discuss and put forward industry views in front of you. But particularly my submission is towards Mr. Philip, because today we have huge projects in progress and going to come up. And whereas US participation, that means direct participation in the construction industry, is almost insignificant. That means there is a huge scope for US to join Indian companies or come directly to execute the projects. If they find it difficult, the best thing is to join hands with the people who are working already in this field. This not only helps speedy implementation of the project, but also quality and sustainability. All this can be clubbed together. We can have mutual advantage. First of all, I can very well receive the knowledge base from the US, number one. Number two, even a guidance during the implementation. That's very important. Just now, Mr. Ashish Wig was pointing out about Bechtel's participation in Delhi Airport. Similarly, so we have insignificant participation, like AECOM is there from US, but they are spread over. But we would rather look forward to have a direct participation in the construction industry. This is one point. Second point is that in construction industry, whereas tunneling, underground metros, and specialized projects requires a huge sophisticated equipment. So now today, we are receiving these technologies from majorly from China because of the cost. Okay, and European companies seldom come and sell their products over here. Rather, there has been a very good initiative by Government of India, that's Make in India. So we look forward to US to establish some very good brands like Robbins. Robbins is famous in making TBMs, whereas Robbins do not have a base in India. Whereas Herrington from Germany has got a base in India. Okay, so, like that, if you bring very good tunneling equipment, manufacturing machines, and even other technologies, okay, which can be very well used, okay, in implementing speedy implementation of the projects, would help India to implement the project faster. At the same time, US presence will also give a dominance of equipments from US rather than depending on China, only looking at the cost point. What happens is, when as a contractor, as a construction company, I always look forward to have a cheaper equipment. Why US equipment cannot be cheaper is because if it is manufactured in US, it will be differently costly. Rather, if they establish a plant over here, manufactured in India, you can straight away bring down the cost by 30%. So that means you will be gradually dominating the market of India. That will help both of us. That's what is my submission. Hope this point is well received.
Thank you, sister. Always, and as usual, in your style, you have been mentioning about the industry perspective, and the pointers, the challenges which we face. And very nicely, you have mentioned the scope where American companies can come into India, especially under the Make in India program by the government. You have also mentioned that we have to go towards China because we don't have an alternative. And you also gave a very good example about Robbins making the TBM. They can come here. Like I mentioned, we would be seeking time with Mr. Philip, and we would try and get in touch with the companies in America and assist them in whatever way they want our assistance in helping them to come here, because you are with one of the biggest infrastructure companies, and you understand and know the places, the points, the problems which can be resolved with all of us, that is the chamber, the government, and the private players. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your viewpoints. In fact, friends, if I may just mention, it would be great if you can email us your views which you have just mentioned, so that we can assimilate and forward to the concerned agencies. May I now request Mr. S.K. Chaudhary? He is the former chairman and managing director, IRCON International. Mr. Chaudhary, your views will be very valid, very relevant as far as the railways is concerned. Thank you.
Good morning to all. Uh, Today's topic is very relevant of infrastructure need, which is requirement in India, badly required. So I'll keep my talk limited to the railways and my company, IRCON, ex-company where I worked. Indian Railways, as you know, is the fourth largest system in the world. And it has, in last year, 13,452 passenger trains on its track and 9,141 freight trains. The track route kilometer is 68,000 kilometer roughly. The earning of railways is from freight is 75% and passenger is 25%. As you know that in national infrastructure pipeline is already out in India by the Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister, where India has focused a need of $1.4 trillion investment in national infrastructure pipeline. India has also very open to its investment partners. It has liberal FDI rules. It has reduced corporate tax, simplified tax regime, a single window clearance, and huge land bank for setting up of manufacturing bases. This is what the government is providing to the new investors who are coming in India, whether in railway or any other infrastructure field. Indian Railways is totally going to be electrified by 2024 after 2 years. 102 semi-high-speed Vande Bharat Express are expected to commence by 2024, which are semi-high-speed trains. Indian Railways developing and creating technology in areas such as signaling and telecommunication, with 15,000 kilometers being converted into automatic signaling and 37,000 kilometers to be fitted with Kavach, which is the domestically developed train collision avoidance system. So this is what going to be there. Then recently, Indian Railways, with a lot of surplus land, has come out with a policy which will be leased to the private partners for setting up of the PM Gati Shakti cargo terminals, and about 100 will come in the next 3 years, and we expect a total number of 500s in the are going to come these cargo terminals for investment, where land will be provided by the government and private person can take this on this. Investment in railway infrastructure will see an investment of about 715 billion US dollar, in the next 20 years. In financial 22 and 23, government has allocated about 18 billion US dollars investment in railway infrastructure. As I already said, there is 100% FDI allowed in railway sector. And future plans where the lot of investment, if the ready-made projects which are being looked after by any investor from outside, there will be assets monetization will be there for Eastern dedicated freight corridor and Western dedicated freight corridor, which are under construction and hopefully to be completed by 2024 with an roughly investment of about $18 billion. So that will also come for monetization of assets. Then induction of 150 modern rakes will also be taken up through public-private partnership. Then railway land parcels and railway colonies and stadiums are also there for monetization, where the private investment can come and make their own projects. Then multifunctional complexes which are already constructed are also being monetized. These are the few things which I wanted to say. Then Indian Railways is also developing its stations to the modernized stations. Earlier, the plan was to do it through PPP model, but the government has then come out with a policy that we will do it on engineering, procurement, and construction method, where investment will be done by government and later on it will be monetized to the private sector. So these are the few things which government is trying in railways. Lot of new things in the coaches manufacturing, in the engines manufacturing are already going on. And what I find that other investment opportunities are where railway, metro rail, high-speed rail, and semi-high-speed rail is lightweight coaches with high-speed rolling stock, where the funding agencies can or private investors can look into it. Advanced tracks for high-speed and semi-high-speed rail, track laying and tunnel boring machines, which are required, as Mr. Sista Prasad has already stated. Equipment, signaling, communication and control, and automatic fare collection system, advanced sensor and Internet of Things equipment in elevators, escalators, and emergency services, complex civil engineering and construction work such as tunneling, asset management technologies and services to support existing and new metro networks, project management and specialized rail contracting, where volume of work exceeds local capacity. Then detailed design, consultancy, and architecture. These are the few things where I feel that funding agency and investors can also look into it. Now I come to my organization where I worked, IRCON. IRCON is an Indian railway construction company and now named as IRCON International Limited. It is already in existence from last 6 years and has worked in 25 countries abroad. It has experience in railways. It has experience in construction of highways. It has experience in construction of flyover and bridges, aircraft maintenance hangars, commercial and residential real estate projects, then runways, tunnels, substations, transmission lines, and signaling. So all aspects of infrastructure constructions, IRCON has its presence. The two very tough projects in Himalayan region, which is connecting to Jammu and Kashmir and Sikkim from the main railway line, are being executed presently by IRCON and likely to be completed by 2020, Jammu Kashmir by 2023 and Sikkim by 2024 end. So these are the tough projects which because Himalayan region is a very new mountains and it is quite difficult to execute projects there. But total as all, IRCON has done about 100 kilometers of tunnels in all put together in Himalayan region. And the longest tunnel which is done is around 11. So the company Having a broad experience in executing projects in Middle East, in African region and Far East region, as well as in United Kingdom, has sufficient experience to undertake any of the challenging projects in railway infrastructure or in highways or in tunnels or in large bridges. Order book, presently the
So we
company
are running out of time. I'm sorry to interject.
for 2 minutes. The company has
You
a
know, we will automatically get disconnected. That is the problem of new IT.
okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'm so sorry, friends, but
Okay.
I've just been told by the secretariat that we have a system, a software system, where automatically we get disconnected because the next session starts.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
this
Thank you
this
very much.
this we can avoid when we are on a physical mode. So I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
Okay.
Uh, you have very beautifully mentioned about the scope in high speed rail, the various things: light coaches, advanced track, tunneling, TBM, equipment signaling. Excellent. I'm sure that the US companies would love to be here in this very lucrative and interesting field. Friends, like I mentioned, we are going to be automatically disconnected, so please be brief. I'll now request Mr. Pratap Adore to be very brief with regard to smart cities, and then the final would be our senior partner, our knowledge partner, Cochin and Company. Pratap.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you IACC for inviting me here for this Indo-US Economic Summit. So I will break tradition and not go into the salutations and start with the content. So I think what the Minister Philip mentioned about the relevance of countries being now subject to huge amount of climate environment issues are causing cities to now make certain changes in their resilience plans, and because they are finally the engines of growth. I think we have seen the flooding of Korea, Germany, Australia, and of course in our own backyard, Assam, UP, Kerala, Bangalore, and now Pune as well. So this has become a very vital part of smart cities, wherein you have to make cities sustainable. And I also want to allude to one other discussion that the other speakers mentioned about Bechtel participating in some of our infrastructure projects. Since I also had the first construction council, we have a tie-up with the Engineering News Record magazine, which regularly every year puts down ranking of top 200 odd international contractors, of which nearly 100 are from the US. And we are going to be felicitating them on 14th of October, because we have the Engineering News Record editors also coming to the event in Mumbai on 14th of October. I think one of the key ideas of smart cities was to inspire the rest of the city to utilize the resources in the most effective and efficient manner. And to that extent, I think the idea has done well. We have had a population growing, from 1 billion in 2000 to 138 billion in 2020. In just 20 years, nearly 40% population growing. In fact, in the urban cities, the population has grown by 70%. Now imagine the same urban infrastructure subject to that kind of an overload, obviously is going to creak and croak, and we are going to need special, technological missions to actually take care of that. But India has done something more brilliant than just the 100 smart cities. It has also taken up the rupee 1 trillion Amrut program that caters to 500 major cities covering 60% of the urban population. And projects over 800 billion rupees have been grounded, and work worth 560 billion has been carried out. So which includes, water tap connections and sewer connections and, eradication of open defecation, etc. So the basic waste management improvement, we've seen all this has been done. But more essentially, these cities, 164 cities have received investable grade rating. That means now financially the cities are capable of raising their own funds. So 36 cities with a rating of A- or above, Ahmedabad, Amravati, Bhopal, Ghaziabad, Hyderabad, Indore, Lucknow, Pune, all these cities. So I think that is another area which is opened up for funding and sustainability of cities. We have metro rail projects in 15 cities, operational metro networks of 746 kilometers, and 1,400 kilometers of metro rail projects worth 2 trillion are in approval and proposal stage. So huge opportunity there as well. Of course, they are changing the cityscape. The metro lines are going to change the way the city, real estate, the city, how it operates and works. In fact, in Mumbai, with all the coastal road and Trans Harbour Link and Navi Mumbai International Airport, the city itself in the next 5 years is going to just be transformed. And that's the opportunity in smart cities, that it's not only the budget which is attributed to the smart city alone, it's the budget which inspires the rest of the city in the municipal budget, which is going to actually see transformation over a period of time. That inspiration work done is going to see the transformation of the city at an overall basis. We are also seeing states now coming up with development agendas. You've seen UP doing so many expressways, is virtually called the expressway state. And so now our lives are from free Wi-Fi at railway stations, CCTV cameras.
Pratap, I'm sorry to interject. Only 3 minutes are left, and
Yes,
we have one speaker.
So smart cities. Yeah. So smart cities mission is completed 7 years. It is an inspiring idea, but now we need a PM Gati Shakti, their model as well, because I think the principal idea of the Gati Shakti is to integrate the silos which operate independent of each other, and that causes a great wastage. So I think, like Mr. Prakash Gaur said, I think that is another idea of logistics and roadways getting together and giving us fantastic return on investment. I think Gati Shakti is required in smart cities mission to really take this into a much better, efficient mission. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. May I request Pradeep Ratnam to come in, please? Pradeep is in America right now.
I am indeed. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm in DC, and I've had a day of meetings with trade lawyers across the city. So it's quite topical for me to come and speak on this at this point in time. The disadvantage is I'm going to have to pick my best points in a very short time. The advantage is you get to hear me less. So on that note, I think very quickly, it's a deja vu moment for me, because a year ago, Mr. Wig, we were discussing the National Infrastructure Pipeline and the National Monetization Pipeline, which the Finance Minister had brought in, and it feels like yesterday. So today, I think this year, and I think pretty much what Mr. Pratap, Mr. Chaudhary, and Mr. Gaur and His Excellency, the Minister, have talked about is stock take of what has happened in the last year. How have those plans actually transformed or really transform themselves on the ground? And I see a lot of movement, and that's the heartening news. On renewable energy, which no one has touched, I'm seeing things have moved to the second generation of renewable energy projects. You're now seeing round-the-clock projects. You're seeing floating solar PV projects, which is increasingly kind of a recognition of our landmass constraints, and of course, the tall vision that our Prime Minister has put forth by having 450 gigawatts by 2030. The second thing which I see, which is quite heartening in this last year, is that there are large structural changes on the ground, where the government has recognized that unless you have bankable discoms coming in and paying up their dues, it's going to be difficult to attract private sector investment. Recently, we had something called the late payment surcharge rules that came in, which essentially penalize non-payment by discoms, which really incentivize them to pay off GenCos in time. And equally, our federal money bags have actually pumped in money saying, let's give you affordable loans through EMI structures where, discoms can pay off their dues. So I really see very bold corrective actions in the government to augment infrastructure. New frontiers, I think green hydrogen is the way to go. I've had a lot of questions on that in the US where I am at the moment. Electrolyzers, electrolysis, OEM technologies coming in, and I very much, along with battery storage, I see that as the future of infrastructure maintenance. Similarly, with round-the-clock and hybrid projects which rely on battery storage, lithium availability, these are some of the questions that I'm facing, where I am at the moment. Digitization, fintech, and payment systems and infrastructure, I do see that as the next path ahead. One of the respected speakers talked about track signaling and digitization of that. Airports is undergoing digital transformation, as are many other sectors of infrastructure management. Lastly, and most importantly, I think we do the importance of US is in the India story is its geostrategic significance has been it's so important that words trivialize what we're trying to say. I mean, this is an inflection point in our relations, both to kind of countervail the China story as we are seeing through the Indo-Pacific economic framework, where India and the US seem to be working very actively, but equally on a cautionary note, Indian OEM manufacturers need to be aware that the US has brought in some very serious legislation, such as the Forced Labor Prevention Act of OFAC, where sourcing of components will become very important. So, when Indian providers start fabricating and under PLI manufacturing solar cells in India, eventually to access US markets, they will be facing this question of where their components are coming from. So if they're coming from prohibited countries like China, this could potentially impact India's growth story as well. So it's an important time for us to take stock in our speed and Gati Shakti in whatever we're doing to recognize that other countries are also coming up with fairly tough laws, and we need to kind of, ensure that we pass scrutiny in what we do. So that's, I have a lot more to run through, sir, but I'm going to restrict myself to these points. I think the message with telecom 5G and, all of that, which is going on right now, is that India has made exponential strides in the last 12 months. So I think that's heartening. That's good news. And as one of the speakers talked about, even the concession agreements and documents are becoming more investor friendly. Exits are becoming simpler. Lock-in restrictions are becoming. So I think there's increasing recognition amongst our policymakers that we need to move in tandem with markets requirements. On that note, Mr. Wig, thank you very much. Thank you for having me here, and look forward to taking any questions offline as and when you have any. Thank you.
Thank you, Pradeep. Thank you so much. For one, you don't seem to be there at 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, you are so fresh and you've been so energetic, the way you have spoken. I mean, it's really, really impressive. I just wanted to ask you, when we talk about the Indo-US relationships Vision 2050, since you are representing a company which is into legal, do you see the legal framework in place? When we talk about Vision 2050, do you think the legal framework between both countries is in place to ensure the positive growth?
Absolutely, Mr. Wig. I think that's a great question. India, certainly, both countries have exceptionally complementary legal frameworks. So there's never been a problem on that, because we essentially have a common sort of legal derivative in terms of our approach. There are significant differences, however, between how we approach things. The Ministry of Commerce, for example, some of its requirements are quite technical, and it will impact Indo-US trade relations going forward, right? So as I mentioned, for example, OFAC's forced labor rules. And similarly in India, from an arbitration perspective, I do get this question a lot from our US counterparts in terms of enforceability of awards, executions, and so on and so forth. The nuts and bolts are there. Now it's a question of populating that with flesh. And there's a reason why does the US only do developmental financing and coming in at different levels and doing project management services, but not taking skin in the game the way the Canadians are, right? So there is an issue in terms of there are certain issues, our entire framework has to become much more investor friendly. And that recognition, from what I'm hearing from the other speakers, has gone all the way up to the policymakers. And I think this really is our watch the space moment between India and the US. I think there's a recognition that we need more resilient supply chains. India is increasingly being seen as an alternative to China, chip manufacturing, all of those components. So I do see our legal systems as complementary, and this is good news for the future. The one additional point I want to make is this is also a very interesting time for Indian companies looking to invest in the US. So we advise a lot of our clients are people who are externalizing themselves to set up shop in the US. And this is a great time to come into America because the economy is very open. It's, they're recognizing the lacuna over 25 years of ceding ground to China. So they're looking to reinvent. So I was looking at a very interesting case where a Korean company has teamed up with Ford on chip manufacturing and enormous incentives given by the US government. So this could be an opportunity for Indian infrastructure entrepreneurs to come into the US and set up strategic partnerships there as well.
Yes, thank you so much. You said that the legal framework between both the countries is more or less fine. But my question actually stemmed up from the very fact that, like Mr. Sista Prasad mentioned, we don't see a lot of American companies in infrastructure, whereas we see them in defense. So, I mean, is there a reason? Is there a reason? Like I said, is there a legal framework problem?
So if you see, last year we had a judgment of the Supreme Court on the Great Indian Bustard, right? So suddenly the Supreme Court came in and said, underground all cables because there's a rare bird, right? It resulted in 30,000 crores of extra capex. Questions like that are legitimate when the Americans come and ask us saying, how do we price this risk? I mean, this is a black swan event for us, right? So when you talk about the legal framework being receptive, I think I would say the results are mixed.
I was just being told by the secretariat that the time is running out. Maybe we get disconnected.
We can discuss this offline.
Thank you so much. I think when you come back, I would love to have a meeting with you. I'll ask the secretariat to seek an appointment, seek a time with you, and then probably we could meet and take it forward. Because, like I said, the Chamber's main responsibility is to interface between the industry and the government and the embassy, so that we can it can be a fruitful result. Mr. Philip, thank you so much. You have spent so much of your time, and yes, namaste. You've spent so much of your time, and very encouraging, as you must have seen all the speakers. I mentioned earlier, I will seek an appointment with your good self and appraise you of what the speakers will submit to us. May I request all the speakers to please give your suggestions, your valuable suggestions, so we can take them forward. Thank you so much. Once again, I would sign off. Bye-bye. I would sign off now from IACC. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to everybody. Thank you for having us.
Thank
Look
you
forward
so
to
much.
following up. Thank you.
Yes.